is, what day is it? I would have to say, I'm going to guess because I can't think of off the top of my head. So I'm going to go with 28th. Is it September 12th?
No, it's September 26th. Oh my God.
I am not paying attention to dates sometimes. I mean, it's just one of those weird things, but I guess that's what I'm going to be trying over. Know the day of the week before you go on your podcast. Oh, well, that's the stuff that happens. But good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We're hoping you're having a great night. This is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss, live with two
Sisters. Hey everyone, this is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0 on this Triumph Tuesday, September 26th, and episode number 679. And yes, I am multitasking. But you know what? The Triumph, I think it's really in how where did she go? She disappeared.
I'm still here. Oops, I'm still here. Sorry. No, I had a message coming. I was trying to get it off.
Oh, okay. So I lost my train of thought, but I think what I was trying to get at is I think a lot of times, the Triumph is in how we move forward with different things, like how do we navigate, how do we keep things structured, how do we keep that routine going? And we're all a work in progress, and I think I'm kind of getting there. I'm got my kind of groove in, and that's what I'm triumphing over.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good to be in your groove, even if you're out of your groove. Sometimes it leads you to another path or journey or something unsuspecting that happens, and it turns out to be something good. Sometimes it's unsuspecting, and it turns out to be not so good. It's really on your mindset and how you think of it. And I always say, a lot of people talk about triumph. They talk about failures, success. How could you, if you keep failing, where's the success? And it's really all in the mindset. There are stumbling blocks that if you were to, and I thought about this at the most oddest time, I think it was about 3 a.m. this morning, that it came to me about talking about success and triumphing over. And I think too many times, too many people look at very successful people, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they're in sports, an athlete, they got it all, right? Boy, what is it like to be on the top? And they're forgetting that those that are at the top of their game, or those that are at the top of their success, whatever their perspective profession is, whether you're an entrepreneur, top of your game, in your 9 to 5, or top of your game being a parent, let's be real. Do not ever doubt that they have days where they second guess themselves. Maybe they get a little irate, feel down, like I can't do this. It's too hard. I flubbed up. How do I rebound? Their mindset is such that they don't dwell on it. And I think that's the key piece to success. Failure is part of being successful, because you have to fail before you succeed in anything that you do. Now, when I say fail, the only time you really fail is if you quit. Then that's a failure. You quit. But if you actually look at it and say, I didn't reach that goal. I said I was going to get to this point, and I had it on my vision board. I was going to do it. And at the end of the day, I didn't get there. But was there some successes within that failure? Because usually they are. And I think those, the greats that I talk about, the Tom Brady's of the world, Messi, the soccer player, who is our grandson's favorite soccer player. What's her name? That great gymnast, I think of her name, not Sonia. She just made it to the eighth nationals, or whatever the heck she's doing, and getting to the Olympics, beyond anyone's wildest dreams. If we don't look at them and say they paid the price, with dedication. They paid the price, what they knew they had to put in the work to get to where they are. But that does not mean that that didn't come at a cost. They had their failures along the way too. They just decided they weren't going to dwell on it. So when we talk about triumphing over something, it really is not allowing your brain to go into that. It's going to go there regardless. We're all human beings, right? So we eventually get there. But don't dwell on it. Just say, okay, that didn't work out. Or that goal, I didn't complete it. I didn't, I tried it this way, it didn't work. Next time maybe I've got to renegotiate how I look at it or I'm doing it to make sure that I'm meeting that expectation of what, and a lot of the times the expectation, don't you think the expectation we put upon ourselves?
Oh, I think definitely. Because I think failure is part of the growth. In fact, Dan Bongino just wrote a book about failure. I don't recall what the exact name of the book is, but he points out all of his failures in a way where he's learned from them. And I can think of something very specific, this past week, or, with, things going on that, okay, this thing that happened, it was frustrating, but what I learned about it is that failure, or if I was looking at it as a failure, was really an opportunity for me to learn and grow. And I think if we just kind of like, when we're in the midst of that, like, oh my God, like, this is so frustrating, it's annoying the heck out of me, like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm learning something here. So the next time this potentially happens, I not only know what to do, I can help others with it.
Right. And I think the key piece is look how long the journey was for a lot of these that are really on top of their game. Like they didn't just, and we, in society, we do what we call those overnight sensations, right? I mean, they come out of nowhere. But as a whole, most people have to live a very disciplined life. And now I'm speaking athletics. Well, actually, I could say it's probably everything, because you got to be disciplined in anything that you do that you want to succeed at. And sometimes it's years in the making. It's part of the years in the making is actually learning to renegotiate, renavigate what's worked, what's not working. Okay, I triumphed over that, but now I got this even bigger hurdle. And then knowing that in order to sustain, when you get on top of your game, whether it's in your profession, whether it's sports, again, entrepreneur, parent, teacher, whatever the profession may be, in order for you to really get top of your game, it takes dedication, it takes discipline. And I think the discipline piece is where people kind of crumble. The good intentions start, like, we go back to talking about that, those resolutions, like, this
Right.
is my year. And then, you talk to that same person, oh yeah, I didn't stick with that, because it takes discipline. And a lot of people don't want to put the discipline that is necessary to perfect, to have that drive to meet and really grasp, I got to do that in order to be successful. And that's the whole point of Triumph Tuesday, is knowing that even with our failures, that you got to embrace, because it is part of the success. It's a piece of the puzzle. What did I learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the failure is actually a lesson or something learned. And maybe you're learning a new habit. You're learning a new way of doing something. You're learning to compromise or to renegotiate, renavigate. And that's hard for a lot of people. They hold on tight to how they're doing something. Nobody wants to be told, perfect example was today, this is something like a little, but so John takes out the vacuum cleaner. Now we have two different heads for it, one for floor, one for carpet. And he said, "Ooh, I think we got a vacuum." I said, "I vacuumed the whole house yesterday." He says, "Really?" Because there seems to be like a lot of cat hair on. We have two cats. One is hypoallergenic, so he doesn't really shed like the other one does. And I said, "I can't tell you, like, it's a smaller vacuum. It's one of those lightweight ones, but it's got a good size 2-cupper thing where it holds all the dirt in here. I said, I filled that thing up 3 times, doing the entire house along with the carpet. Well, you're using the wrong head. And I said, I realized that because we only have a small carpet, everything else is floor. So I don't bother even changing it. I'd rather go over the carpet 3 or 4 times than rather than change the head. I know it's kind of dumb. I could just easily change the head up. He goes, well, I'm going to prove it to you. So I said, oh, so you're telling me I failed it back at me? So he goes and he changes the head. And he goes to vacuum the carpet. And sure enough, some hair came out, but it wasn't like this over exuberant amount. And he said, well, I guess it sort of makes a difference, but and I said, that's my point. It sort of makes a difference. And I'm sure it does. I know it does. But for the amount of time it takes me to do that, I just want to whip through the house. I do it often enough. So he says, yeah, but don't you want to do it right the first time? And I'm like, okay, I'll change the head. Do I want to do it? No. Am I disciplined to do it? No, because it's a pain in the butt. But it will make my job easier. So I'm trying to make it easy, taking the easy way out, but it's not getting the job done. So I got to renegotiate. I got to renavigate. And sometimes it's someone interjecting to tell you that, even though you're like, that's part of like really letting go of that control and saying, you know what, I got to learn to do it a better way to be more efficient. So I got to take his advice, even though, let's be real, women, who wants to take the advice from their hubby?
Certainly not me.
On certain things.
Right. And I'm just laughing here. Failure, I think too, we think of like when we think that we really failed at something, let's be real, it kind of wreaks on havoc on your nervous system. And I think you start to like worry that, am I worthy of this? And like all these things pop up. Like you got to put your foot on the instead of on the gas, put it on the brake, and like give yourself the grace and dignity and respect that you so well deserve, and just like chill out about it.
And just stubbornness. I mean, I was stubborn I want to do it that way.
I didn't realize that.
We all are. We all get into our little groove of how we like things done, how to get things done. How many out there say, oh, I fold my towels this way. That's not how I fold my towels, because I know they got to be stacked up, neat and tidy. And there's other people that just kind of whips them together. Well, what's it? You're just going to grab it tomorrow. But it festers with people. And you get to pick and choose your battle on what's important, what you need to be disciplined on, what you need to be accountable for. So, those are little perks of all the different little pieces of the failure and the successes, but they all, you have to look at a failure as it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe it was meant to be that way. Maybe I'm supposed to do it that way. Maybe my mindset needed a jolt. And we can never be too stubborn and or too closed-minded to think that we cannot keep improving ourselves on how we do things. I know that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you certainly can. If you decide that, you know what, ultimately I'm in control of how I act and how I react. So if I react differently, meaning maybe I need to flip my mindset about something. Don't you think? Like if we just are open to fine tuning how we think, half the time that's half of the negotiation. Say, oh, I can do that. Right. That is kind of a better way of doing something.
Yeah, because I think part of the renegotiating or kind of sifting your way through, on your journey, like, what am I going to do about this particular thing? I think you really do have to stop and really just focus on the learning experience part of it. I'm not saying that I do that all the time, because sometimes, you know what, I want to be, I want to get pissed off. I just like, I need to process the feelings. So if I'm like, and I can't get past, I know past a certain point, we've talked about this all the time. I put the timer on my phone. Sometimes I have to do it 10 to 15 minutes, and I allow myself that opportunity to be mad or whatever. And once my timer goes off, that's it. It usually helps me work, and it kind of focuses my attention in a different area to like get over that hump and move forward.
Sometimes you got to put yourself in the timeout, or like you said, pause or like reflect. Let me switch that mindset. And today I heard kind of a funny story. I was chatting with one of my pickleball friends, one of my pickleball girls, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I was just playing with this one person, and they were so grouchy and they were so miserable." And I finally looked at her and said, "Let's just have fun. Why don't you change it? Put a smile on your face. Actually, put a smile on your face, and maybe you'll." Because she was complaining that I sucked at the 3 games before, and she goes, "Well, you look miserable. Lighten up. Put a smile on your face." I'm thinking to myself, what a good way to look at that. I mean, sometimes we have to know what our facial expressions are. And a lot of times our facial expressions are the reflection of what's going on in our brain. And then we outwardly start transforming into that mood because we look miserable. So if you look miserable, you probably are miserable. So why not flip that and say, you know what? It was out of my hands. That game's over with. It's a new game. And that's how really we have to look at a lot of things. But just rest assured that even those that are in top have these days where they're trying to renegotiate, renavigate how they're going to transfer, remake, redo, change their mindset and change their attitude, work harder. And those failures are actually, I call those the stepping stones that we need to, in the steps that we need to actually take, whether it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We have to do that to get to the end of the staircase, to get to the goal. And I think that's just the way that we have to look at things and not be so hard on ourselves.
Exactly. And I do want to go back to one thing, because when you mentioned a timeout, I'm thinking to myself, gee, I wonder how many times per day my sister puts herself in a timeout.
Well, not as often as you think. Not as like I know, like when I'm at that moment, and that's usually when I'll go journal, I'll take a deep breath, I'll put on a really good song, get me out of that funky mood, or like change my mindset. Like even with the vacuum cleaner, I was not a happy camper that he was lecturing me how to vacuum. But at the same time, he proved the point that I really should switch it out, even though I didn't want to hear that. So I was busy making, dinner, and I made a really great homemade dessert today. It's a vegan protein pumpkin loaf, which I'm going to try it in a little bit. So I was really focused on that. So I kind of let him, sometimes you got to give a little. So I had to give a little, and that was okay. Sometimes you got to eat that humble pie. So how many times a day do I eat the humble pie? A couple usually. And doesn't bother me to do that.
Well, I think to a certain degree I do that, but it's just me. You know how I say it's just me being me? Well, I know that sounds corny, but you got to do what you got to do. And if it's putting yourself in a timeout, that's the way it goes. So
exactly. And I just got a red alert. I literally been on my phone all day. Red. So I don't want to like peace out and then all of a sudden I'm here and I'm there. So with that, we're going to wrap this up before Naughty Boston's phone is dead to the door now, because it's getting pretty close. We hope that you keep your mind open, that you humble yourself enough, put yourself in that timeout, take a pause, take a breather, dance until you get that good feeling back, and know that you're not alone. And even those that you admire, that you follow on your different social medias, or maybe you're following an actor or a sports singer, whatever it may be, they have days too like this. They're not perfect, nor are we. With that, this is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss, gonna go try some of my new recipe. And we both wish you a really, really great Triumph Tuesday. And we know that there's something that you're triumphing over. You may not know it yet, but you will. With that, this is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss, live with two
Sisters. Hey everyone, this is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Put yourself in a timeout. Your self tomorrow will thank you. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.